Hello, my name is Shane Brodie. Hello. I am traveling around the country talking to fellow trans people. I'm a transgender man. I often call myself a transsexual. It's generational. I started transitioning in the late 90s. Anyway, so we're here in Kentucky, and it's really beautiful, and I feel like this is some sort of resort area, it seems like. Maybe in the past.
The lakes are very popular.
Yes, yeah.
They're very popular.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to hand it over to my guests for a moment, and they're going to, as I say, describe themselves in whatever way they want, and then we'll just get into it. All right. I've never before had two guests at the same time, so this is kind of exciting. Yeah.
We're both super awkward.
Okay. So go ahead. How would you describe yourself?
I usually call myself a trans man. Mm-hmm. I typically am stealth.
Yeah, I'm going to pixelate this video.
Because small town, you know.
Yeah.
Especially closer to the south.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much how I identify and stay mostly to ourselves.
Yeah. And how about you?
Pretty much the same. Trans man. I'm from the West Coast. Moved out here about 12 years ago.
Okay. You don't sound like you're from the West Coast. You sound like you're more from here.
It's the autism.
Okay.
Got to blend in with the people around you, right?
Okay. So you're a good mimic?
Yep, pretty good
okay.
mimic. It's a mask. Just throw it away.
I am too, actually. Whenever I stay somewhere just for a little while, I start picking up on people's mannerisms and vocal tics, and I'm like, wait a second, I'm not from here. And, you know.
It surprisingly only took me like a year to develop a full-on nice thick accent. It was newscaster before all this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like the West Coast, yeah. Except, you know, if you're like more like a valley kind of person, you know.
Oh, no, it's not a valley girl.
No. I catch myself doing that all the time, though. I say...
For funsies, yeah.
Yeah, I say, like, awesome. Like, I'm constantly saying that.
Like, oh my god.
Yeah. Well, I was a teenager in the 80s, so it was like a big deal, you know.
Gag me with a spoon, Heather.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's exactly it. So just, you know, I mean, usually, you know, with talking to trans people, we talk about like when you guys would come out or something like that. When did you guys start transitioning, I guess?
I started, I came out to my mom at 18.
Okay.
Because I just lived with my mom and my two brothers. I came out to my little brother, actually, when I was like 15, 16, and he was already using the right name and everything.
Okay.
And then I came
You started using the name long before that? Okay.
Yeah. And then I actually came out to my mom in an email while she was sitting like right in front of me. And she was like, oh, okay, I just figured you were like a lesbian.
Okay.
So she's been super cool and very supportive and has been very helpful.
And what kind of era is this? The early 2000s or more recent?
It was 2009, 2010, something like that.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah, so things were kind of improving for trans people at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right now I feel like we're kind of going backwards a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. How about you?
Came out about around the same time, 2010.
Okay.
I had met my ex-wife, and she was a trans woman, and she convinced me to not wait, because I was going to wait for my little brother to be old enough, because I knew my family was going to cut me off. My parents were. And they
they hinted about something like that?
It's they didn't have to hint. It was just who they are.
Oh, okay.
Very, very clear. They got into Christianity when I was probably 12 and decided we were all going to be super Christian now. I did not agree with that.
Like what? What denomination?
Non-denominational. They were Calvary Chapel.
Okay. Yes. So that's like kind of the big auditorium style.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
What was your experience of that? Did you go to that much, or
I was forced to go for my teenage years, and it's not for me.
Yeah.
No, none of it's for me.
Yeah. I talked to somebody early on in this project, and she was talking about the importance of small churches, because when you get to those bigger kind of auditorium style ones, it becomes more like a performance.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. It's like a rock concert, more like, you know. less of the fellowship and less of like the good work happening. You know, it's more like a message is put out rather than, you know,
Well, when you don't want to be
sharing.
there and you spend your time
Yeah.
just doing whatever you can in your head,
Right.
you
right.
notice that every so often it's a tithing sermon.
Yes. Yes.
And
yeah.
So you kind of get to pick up on, okay, you guys are just pulling for money. Mm-hmm. Like a lot, often, once a month at least.
right. Right.
That's a quarter of your sermons.
We went to Bellevue Baptist down in Memphis, and it's like one of the biggest churches up there.
Okay.
And it was the same way. It was just big, huge auditorium, and they were not the nicest people. Especially
really?
to my older brother, who's mentally handicapped.
Okay.
They were very rude with him.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's surprising because usually they're almost over the top nice because
Right.
they really want, you know, like you're saying, the funds. They want the funding.
Well, we weren't rich enough for them.
Oh, I see. They
Because
could
we
tell.
were lower income, so
Yeah.
we weren't like dressed to the nines when we went to church and stuff.
Okay.
So I think that didn't help.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So you were pretty openly defiant about being there, or
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Did they force you to like wear a dress or something like that, or
My parents stopped doing that when I was probably 13.
Okay.
And had some big revolutions and was like, no, I'm not doing that anymore.
okay, yeah. So you knew upon coming out, like when you were maybe an older teenager or early 20s or something like that, that you knew you were going to get cut off in some way.
Yeah.
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 Wow. So
And I didn't mind so much losing my parents. It was my
Yeah.
little brother and sister.
right.
Because I'm 10 years older than the youngest.
Oh, so you were
So I was just waiting on him to make his own decision
Okay.
about me.
were you kind of like more in a parental role in some way?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I raised those kids. They were mine for
Oh,
years.
wow. Wow. Yeah. Have you lost contact or
No. The kids talk to them all the time.
okay?
My parents, every once in a while, they still want to use the wrong name and
Yeah.
wrong pronouns. And, okay, I just won't call for a few months. We'll try again.
Wow. Yeah. What kind of industries are you involved in, if you want to say, in terms of work?
I am unemployed. I just got technically fired from my last job.
Oh, really?
Come here. Because I was asking for accommodations, and the way I worded my my excuse or whatever it is made them able to get rid of me because I became a liability.
Okay.
But
You
that
mean
was on
like
me.
for a disability or for trans
For
issues?
disability,
Okay.
because they were wanting me to work 6 days a week, and it was really, really bad on my depression.
Oh.
So I was like, can I just get 5 days a week instead? And
Yeah.
that was what the accommodation was for. That's all I wanted. And then they were like, no, we can't do that. And also, you're fired.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, kind of trying to see if I can't get on disability right now.
Yeah.
Because I have severe depression, anxiety.
Do you mean like temporary state disability, or the big federal one?
I think the federal one?
Yeah, that one is
Okay.
very difficult to get on.
Yes.
Just so that you know.
Oh, yeah. No, I applied for it when I was 18, 20, somewhere in between there. And we didn't get any help through it, but this time I've got some help.
Okay. Like a lawyer or
Through one
something?
of his coworkers who's been through it before.
Okay.
So she's going to help with that.
Yeah, it's very difficult. People who I've known who have been profoundly, visibly disabled, you know, in like using wheelchairs and stuff,
Yeah.
have a very difficult time even.
So
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it is. Especially if you have something that's not well researched,
Oh, yeah.
like autoimmune disorder or something like that.
Definitely.
Very difficult. Yeah.
The invisible disabilities are really the ones that get hit with that. Oh, you're just faking.
Right. 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 Yeah. How about you, if you want to say?
I work in healthcare.
Yeah.
I've recently graduated. I work in medical imaging.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, working on getting some certifications done so I can have more modalities under my belt.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and if you want to travel with that,
Oh, yeah.
People would want you.
That's you.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. If you wanted to go up to Alaska, even, you could do that.
Yep.
For short stints. Yep.
I think there's a couple of different countries that allow you to. It's not a full-on transfer because you still have to test out through their programs.
Sure. It's a kind of reciprocity.
Like you can bypass their schooling requirements.
Yes. Right.
They'll just let you test out and get your certifications that way. So that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been looking into going abroad.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, my parents were teachers, and they got into the international school system, which was kind of cool. So if you know any teachers, they can go overseas if they get a job within this system, and they'll pay for the travel costs. They'll sometimes give you like housing and a car to use and that sort of thing. It's pretty good.
That's
pretty
awesome.
good. Yeah. So look for a deal like that. Yeah, totally. So what are you guys doing out here in very, very small town? I mean, it isn't even a town, frankly. I mean,
It's really not.
this is outside of a town. It's it looks like it was a more vibrant area in maybe a different decade. It's a little bit depressed now. Maybe that's because of COVID. I'm not sure. But there's quite a few. I noticed driving up here, there was quite a few houses that looked like they hadn't been lived in for a while.
There was a big tornado last December.
Okay.
Yeah,
and that
it
was
it
just
literally
down the road
was
from
just
us.
right there.
Okay. Yeah,
And
maybe that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it destroyed a ton of houses.
A lot
Okay.
of people rebuilding.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But these look like they've been like
Oh, there are some that have been
There,
abandoned.
there,
Yes,
there's
they've
some that have been
there for a
abandoned,
while.
but a big swath
Like
of
stuff
that
growing
was-
on them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then there's quite a few businesses there were a couple little towns on the way here when I was driving up. Lots of businesses closed.
Yeah.
The ones that are open though look like they're drawing a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there were several that were closed. Do you think that's a COVID response or maybe from that tornado or?
Could be both.
Both,
We don't stick around the area a lot.
Okay, so you just live out here.
Yeah, we pretty much just live here.
Okay, okay. So when you do work or whatever you do, recreate, socialize with other people, you go somewhere else. Okay.
Yeah, we usually go to the bigger towns around.
Okay, great. Yeah. I noticed, though, on the maps, bigger cities are quite a distance. Like,
Good 30-minute drive, I think, for the closest one. 20 minutes?
Yeah, it's not too far away. It's
yeah,
about 20
I'm
minutes.
thinking like
Oh, big town.
big,
Yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
cities.
Yeah, those are
hours.
Yeah.
Hours away.
Closest ones in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's only 2 hours though. That's not bad.
2 hours if the
Well-
traffic is okay.
It took me about 4 hours.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
We're coming at the wrong time of day.
Okay.
You came out during rush hour. That was no bueno.
But rush hour started at 1.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess
you
it's
plan to work around that.
Okay. Well, I guess it's that area of Tennessee is really growing, so maybe that's why the infrastructure hasn't caught up. So yeah, it was pretty bad traffic, and it looked like Tennessee drivers. Goodness gracious, I felt like they were gonna like mow me down.
They don't care about you at all.
No,
No.
they do not.
No, they
And
do not.
there's so many souped up cars on the road too. And I just have a little Japanese subcompact, and I was like, zoom, zoom, zoom. You know, I really can't go faster. You know,
It's
Come on, my
terrifying.
RPMs are at the max. That's
I
all I
know.
can do.
It's like, zzz, you know, and there's just this V8 back there. Boom, boom, boom.
That's why I'm so glad you do like 90% of the driving.
Yeah.
I'm too nervous. I just started driving at 25
Okay.
because I was always too afraid to.
Yes.
And like I don't mind it as much now, but I hate being in traffic.
Okay.
So anything big,
Yes.
big towns, busy, he's the one driving.
Yes. Yeah. And there's a lot of trucks on the road too, so it's like there'll be trucks like completely hemming you in on every side, and it's like, whoa, I'm in a canyon here.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't sneeze.
Yeah, I know. It's not quite as bad as the East, though. The Eastern Seaboard, there's so many trucks on the road just because there's such large population centers all over there, you know?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I was actually born in North Carolina, but we moved to Memphis when I was like 3 or 4, so I can't remember it very well.
Okay, yeah. So what brought you out to... So I'm assuming that you guys aren't from here. Like you just
Yeah.
said you're from North Carolina and you're
I'm
from the
Las
West. Okay, you're from the West. You're from Las Vegas. What brought you here? Because it seems like I don't know if it's an unfriendly place for LGBT people, but there's not a lot of, I would think,
It's
LGBT
unfriendly.
people.
It
We're
is
still-
Okay.
straight up unfriendly.
Okay. I don't want to assume.
I have seen people in the store with white power shirts on.
Oh my God.
Like, literally with white power symbols on. And
Oh.
I'm just like, oh.
There's an active chapter of the KKK here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
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 We don't.
Wow.
That's why we don't stick around. We're just in the house and then other towns around the area.
Okay. So do you feel safe then? I mean, so we were getting into this area and what it's like being, a couple of trans men out here and, in what looks like a very queer relationship. So what's that like?
We're pretty stealth here.
Yeah.
Like, we don't, not a lot of PDA or anything.
Yeah.
Because, God forbid, like,
Right.
wouldn't want to deal with it. Like,
I must say, when you said you saw white power shirts, that really shook me,
when I saw it, I was so blown away. I didn't think that's what it was. I was like, oh, I'm remembering that sign wrong.
Yeah.
And I had to go look it up, and I was like, no, that's exactly what I saw.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. But, yeah, it just threw me when I saw it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I haven't
terrible.
seen that stuff since the 80s.
Yeah.
When skinheads were really big and
Yeah.
then they sort of went away for a while and so did the KKK, but they seem to be coming back.
Yep.
There's
They
been a
call
large-
themselves different things now though,
Yeah.
Proud Boys and 3%ers and
I haven't heard that one.
yeah, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So what exactly did you see? I mean, what kind
He was wearing a T-shirt and it had the black sun or whatever, the white
Oh,
sun.
yes. Right.
I can't remember exactly what it's called.
Yeah, yeah. Interestingly, you know that guy, Buck Angel?
Yeah.
He was interviewing a trans woman recently, and she had that on her wall. Yes.
What?
Yes, that's the kind of guest that he has. Anyway.
Glad we're all on the same page about him.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Oof.
I saw the last time I was in the same physical space with him, he was yelling at an entire auditorium of queer and trans people about how they weren't buying enough of his pornography. Yes, it was
Okay.
it wasn't. I mean, his pornography really wasn't aimed toward the general queer audience.
Yeah,
though.
it's a very niche.
Yeah, it's very very particular.
Not everybody likes that kind of thing, bro.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Anyway, I actually didn't know he was doing all of this thing that he's done the last few years because I was at Harvard for a while, just focusing on that because I'm middle-aged and just trying to survive, And then I was in Alaska in a cabin, kind of like what you guys are doing here, kind of off by myself a little bit. So I missed a few years of social media. And now I'm coming back and I'm like, what the hell happened?
Culture shock.
I love this person. I don't love this person. Why don't I love this person?
Yeah, it's really weird. What's happened?
Because he was one of the first trans guys that I had heard about who
Yeah.
was big.
Right.
Because back when I found out, I was 14 when I found out what trans was. Mm-hmm. Thanks to a YouTube video, funnily enough. And I was just like, oh, cool. There's a guy out there,
Right.
making a name for trans
Right,
people.
and looks very masculine
Yeah.
and muscular.
Yeah, and
right?
I was like, oh, I want to look like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that kind of like a whole generation of younger guys really kind of were like, wow, look
Yeah.
at this,
It's like he looks like the peak male physique.
Yeah.
Like,
And then he even did something where I think he was doing fundraisers for people's surgery
oh, cool.
for a while. But then I don't know what happened to him. He's just bitter and strange now and really anti-trans.
That's
So.
sad.
Yeah, I don't really like to talk about him, but I guess he just
Understandable.
came up. He just came up. So, but it's a thing, right? I mean, it's interesting because we have this sort of right-wing resurgence, and then we have trans people who are even going along with it.
Which is insane to me.
Yeah.
It's like, talk about voting against your best interest.
Yeah. Well, it's more than that. I think it's really aggressive.
Oh, yeah.
It's,
The
yeah. So, what other, I guess, trans guys were you seeing at that time when you were first coming out?
literally, I think it was just him and Chaz Bono.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. That
Yeah.
one.
So Cher's son.
And then there
Yeah.
was a couple, I don't know their names, and then there was a couple of guys who were getting a lot of clout because they were getting pregnant
Oh, yes.
after they had, like, transitioned. Like,
Yeah.
they already had, or I think one of them had already had top surgery.
Uh-huh.
But they were already, like, taking tea or whatever.
Yeah, there was one in Oregon, I think.
But I was like, not for me. You
Yeah.
do you. No judgment. But like, yeah, that's pretty much all I had, because there really wasn't a lot.
Right.
And I wasn't very keen on using the internet and like interacting with people either.
Yes.
So I was pretty much just by myself when it came to that.
Yeah. When I was coming out, there were some FTM pages, and this was the early part of the internet, right? There was like a FTM ring, they called it.
Yeah.
And so there were some sites that were connected to each other, and it was actually before even Google came out, okay? So you would get in the FTM ring, and you could visit these other sites because they were connected to each other. And then there were some other sites that were like, oh, successful trans men, successful trans women. And it was kind of like some people that are kind of the usual suspects. Like, everybody kind of knows them. They're kind of famous, like famous doctors and stuff like that. Yeah. That's part of the reason why I'm doing this project, because I just want to talk to, like, regular people who are living out in the boonies, kind of like here, you know? Not in the cities, you know.
In the scary parts of the world.
Exactly. So back to that. When you see this kind of thing around you, how do you... I don't know, protect yourself, or how do you like recover from that? You know?
I think we're just lucky because we both passed pretty well.
Yes.
So we don't, like, I apparently can be clocked as being gay because I have the kind of effeminate, I move my hands and stuff a lot.
Sure, I do too, you know?
So I feel like I might get clocked sometimes, but that's a little bit less than being clocked as being trans.
Sure.
So I think because we passed, it's a lot easier for us here.
Yeah. I had a friend who was at a bar with an older guy, and they were talking, and the older guy kind of gave him a look like, what? You know, because I think my friend was being a little flamboyant for a second. And then my friend was like and then he was like, oh, I better talk about women. And so he started talking about women in like a really gross way too. But gross sexual way. But it did...
That's actually smart.
But it did get him out of the situation, because the guy was like, you know, what? You know? Yeah.
Can't you just let me be gay by myself?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess I'm wondering, did you guys think it would be like that when you came here?
I moved here in this town.
Yeah.
With my mom and my little brother, 2015, something like that.
Yeah.
And we had heard, we thought maybe it was exaggerated, that, like, the whole KKK thing.
Oh, wow.
We were like, well, we're going to be living on the outskirts. We're not going to the schools. My little brother was still going to the school that he was in previously. And he was about to graduate anyway. So we were like, oh, we're not going to have to deal with it too much. And then we had problems with that house, and we had to move here. And we're, like, a lot closer to town. And it's just... It's not been as bad because, like I said, we don't really get out that much.
Yeah.
But it's still so surprising to see it. Like,
yeah. That's so weird that it's so casual, just going to a store and seeing that.
It's awful.
How about you? What brought you here specifically?
I met my ex-wife online.
Okay.
In 2008.
Is she around here still? Or?
She's in a different small town,
Okay.
but yeah, she's still out here.
Okay. Uh-huh.
The housing market crashed in 2008. Couldn't afford to live in Vegas by myself.
Right.
So said, F it. Let's go.
So what was happening in Vegas at the time? Was there just less tourism, so the economy got locally depressed?
The tourism was still there, but the housing market made it impossible to afford anything.
Oh, so rents went way up?
Rents skyrocketed overnight.
Because people were losing their houses, so they were starting to rent.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
A crappy little 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment went from maybe $800 a month to $2,000 overnight.
Yeah, I heard, at the time I was living in California, and I kept hearing all these rumors of, oh, go out to Las Vegas, it's so great, that there's so much housing, because in California, you have to fight for housing, basically, and that it's so much cheaper, so that's awful. That's really awful. Okay, so there was kind of this crash, and then you came out here for love. For love.
Sure, we'll call it that.
Okay, for a relationship of some sort, and then you decided to stay.
Just been feeling my way out.
Okay, and then what kind of relationship do you guys have? Are you friends, or is there more? Sorry, I don't know how to put that.
Boyfriends.
Your boyfriends, okay. So, I guess how did you guys get together? Because you're kind of isolated, both, and then how did you get together, I guess?
We both started working at the same place.
Oh, okay.
Almost around the same time.
Okay.
Yep.
And
Okay.
I think you were wearing like a lanyard or your earring that had rainbow on it, and then I had a rainbow bracelet on.
Okay.
And he texted me and was like, "Hey, I saw your rainbow stuff." And I was, and we were both kind of like,
Great pickup line, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, hey there.
"Hey, you were still married at the time." No,
Oh, my goodness.
Well, you were trying to bail out on work, so
I was.
You
I
spilled
was.
the tea.
It was like my very first job, and I was super anxious.
Okay.
And I was just like, I was about to quit, and he fast became my friend, so it
Okay.
helped a lot.
Okay. Did you stay there then?
We actually both left
Okay.
less than a year after because they were outsourcing,
Oh.
and it was just going to ruin everything.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, I see that you have a little rainbow there. That's hilarious. That's pretty bold to do that with a coworker as well.
Well,
Big pool of people too.
listening to how he talks, he's rather effeminate, and
Okay, yeah.
I kind of maybe clocked him a little bit myself, knowing
Okay.
what to look for. I'm like,
Yeah.
I wonder if he's got the tomato part of the LGBT sandwich.
Yeah, yeah. I don't mean to be like stereotypical or whatever, but you seem like less gay, you know?
Very straight passing.
Yes, you're very straight passing.
Yeah.
And so I can see how you would have to make the move.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
have almost no problem with putting myself out there.
Yeah.
Because I've got pretty good feeler to begin
Yeah.
with.
And I have no social skills at all.
Okay. You're one of those people you got to bunk them over the head. Yeah.
I left school at like 6th grade to be homeschooled, and then I didn't go back until college, so I
Okay.
had no personalization or anything. Like
I
I was in
understand.
the house 24/7. That's all I did.
I understand. I had a little bit different history, but it's kind of similar actually. I was only in high school for a little bit, and then there's a huge gap there. Yeah. So yeah. It's amazing when I've actually heard from some teachers in this project and people that I know that kids through COVID are going to experience some delay because of that, some social delay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. You develop socially, you learn how to share, you learn how to maybe have little skirmishes but work them out, you know. But when you don't have that, it's like, oh, you lose out.
You don't use it, you don't use it, you lose it.
That's right. That's right.
And I was never good with socializing in the first place.
Oh, I see.
I was very much the awkward kid who just sat in the back and like played with my hair or doodled.
Sure.
Always been that way.
So, do you guys plan to stay here? Is this like home for you? Okay. So, just an economic necessity right now?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
'Cause, like
Okay.
my mom owns this place, so
Okay.
we're renting from her.
Oh, great. Great.
Which helps a lot.
Yeah, I bet. You know, there's a lot of shame in this culture about that sort of thing. Like, you just have to stand on your own 2 feet, and
Nah.
you know. But it's funny because it's just mostly white people that think that way, right? There's
Yeah.
so many different cultures that are like, yeah, family, let's take care of each other. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah, my parents are very much the pull your stuff up by your bootstraps. And like first of all, that was written as a joke.
Yeah.
And second of all, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I pulled myself up and left a huge generational trauma. So
Right.
how about we don't?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Who would be your mentors then in terms of like being a man? I guess that's kind of an awkward question, but you know, like some people, I mean, you know, they look to other trans men, but if you're not around a lot of other trans men, who would you like? Who do you admire? I guess out there, you know, especially if some of the men around you aren't the best role models.
I think ever since I was a kid, my role model's been Steve Irwin.
Oh, that's the animal guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Steve Irwin's a pretty good one.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, Steve
Yeah.
Irwin. I always wished he was my dad.
Yeah.
Okay.
I idolized him as a kid.
Oh
Yeah.
He was a great one.
I
My dad was not a good male role model.
Yeah.
neither was my dad.
Yeah, mine wasn't either. So it's interesting, like trying to be a man to grow into being a man, which I think is a process that takes forever. I think it happens. This is also the same with cisgendered men. We're all, we're always kind of growing into the man that we want to be,
Yeah.
and to not have like direct role models around you is a little bit. It's like almost like a scramble. It feels like.
I think since I didn't have anybody really to look up to as a kid,
Yeah.
by the time I got to start testosterone myself,
Yeah.
I think I ended up asking our friend's husband
Oh yeah.
a lot of questions.
Oh, that's
like
cool.
how do I maneuver around
Yeah.
these male situations?
Right.
Like,
Smart.
what does this mean?
Right. Oh, yeah. And if you don't do that, you're going to get your butt kicked.
Like, what happens if I have to wait in line in the bathroom? What am I supposed to do?
Right.
Like,
Right.
these are things that are different
Right.
that I had not been brought up in and couldn't very well ask my dad.
Right. And how do you treat women as a man? That's totally different than if you're another woman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like when I was a dyke or a lesbian, I never called myself a lesbian, but a dyke. I could get away with so much more. I feel like with like bad behavior around women. I cannot
It's
anymore.
much more acceptable.
Well, you're less scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's completely understandable.
Yeah,
And you might want to sit on your not all men stuff, but when
yeah.
90% of the women
That's right.
have had something happen, it doesn't matter what not all men.
Oh yeah. No.
Do you ever forget what you look like? Sometimes
Yes.
I forget.
I forget.
I forget that
I
I-
will go to crack
Yeah.
a joke at one of my female coworkers and go, "Oh my god, that was not
Yes.
sexual harassment."
Right.
I love you.
Right.
Or like
Right.
when you're in the store and you want to make faces at a baby and it's like, wait.
Yes.
I'm not-
Oh my
oh,
god.
I'm
not allowed to interact with toddlers, cute little toddlers at the store. I don't want to talk to I don't want to
Right.
come up to them.
Yeah.
But I just want to be like, "Hi."
Yes.
Give
Right.
them like make faces, help their parents that are obviously flustered.
Yeah,
Right.
especially when they're screaming and throwing a fit. I love making faces at them and making them laugh and get distracted. But then they'll look at you as a guy and they're like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, I've
is
also
sad, but-
I've also had that happen, and it's really heartbreaking. Yeah, like people pulling their kids away, and I wasn't interacting with them, but the kids were like, "Oh, hi," and "Oh, come on," kind of thing.
Don't talk to the strange man.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get it though.
Oh, yeah.
I totally get it. Totally get
But
it.
it's definitely heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is heartbreaking. Yeah. So on the way here, I did see a lot of signs for deer, like the leaping stag kind of thing. And you mentioned something about that. I asked you if you were hunters because I come from a place where people do a lot of hunting and even subsistence hunting.
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys do that sort of thing out here?
No. I recently learned how to do it with my car.
Okay.
Three times this year.
3 times?
Three times.
times.
3 different cars.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Are they little ones or are they kind of big, hefty size?
They were big.
They're big.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, did it damage your car?
Damaged my first car, which is now totaled for a different reason.
Okay.
Yeah. It's been a bad year for cars.
Damaged his car.
Oh my goodness.
That deer was okay though. She disappeared. I
Okay.
think she was okay.
just got up and left.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
She blew out my passenger side light.
Oh,
I
okay.
think it was old. It's an old car, so
Okay.
it was probably really brittle anyway, and it
Sure,
just
sure.
exploded.
Yeah. Yeah. After a few winters, the plastic just gets really
Oh, yeah.
brittle. Yeah. There's pieces on my car because it was in Alaska that sometimes I push something and I'm like, oh no, that just cracked. Yeah. It's like, oh crap.
Nice.
And if you buy the OEM equipment, it's like the original stuff, like directly from the maker. It's like so expensive.
Yep.
Yeah. But then do you want to look like you have a bum car? I don't know.
You know what? I don't even care.
It's-
Give me the
it's-
bum car.
Yeah. I'm getting more to the bum car stage as little things happen. Little things happen.
I drove a literal golf ball around.
Yes.
For the last several years. My mom, it had been totaled out.
Okay.
My ex-wife took my old car in the divorce, and I was like, "Hey, Mom, can you help me?" And she's like, "Actually, I'm upgrading because this car just got totaled out for hail damage, but everything on the inside is pristine." I was like,
yes.
"Sold."
Yeah. So there's a lot of hail here sometimes.
Where she lives in Kansas.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I used to live in Minnesota, and there's an actual insurance category for that, like hail damage. Because they would get, what is it, ping pong to, like softball size.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Because there's, like, the warm wet air coming up from the Gulf.
Yeah.
And then there's the Arctic air, and it just,
Nope.
yeah.
Hard pass.
I think we've had maybe pea-sized hail here. That's like the
Okay.
largest I've seen.
Yeah, that's more like sleet, really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just like,
really sweet.
it
Yeah.
just sounds funny.
Yeah, sleet that maybe went up one more time. Okay. But you did have a pretty bad tornado from what you said, right? Is that kind of a worry around here, tornadoes?
It wasn't before.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's
Okay.
not. We have a tornado season, but that tornado happened completely out of season.
Okay.
It's just like at random. It feels like,
really?
yeah.
Okay.
But that one was definitely the
Are,
worst. Like, it
are
was...
you experiencing what some people call climate weirding up here?
Yeah.
Where-
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so the recent weather in different places has really radically changed from how it's usually been. Like, for instance, up in Alaska, it is in the 40s, which is warmer than it is down here.
Yeah,
which is really strange.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, really strange.
Like, we're supposed to get into the single digits tonight, which would be normal for this time of year. But last week we were in the 70s.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just
It's getting weird.
I've been trying to escape the snow, and just recently in the last couple days, the area in western New York I was in has like 50 inches. Just suddenly, there's boom, Yeah.
I used to like the snow, but it's just now that I drive, it's just like no,
Yeah.
stop, go away.
Yeah. And now that I've been on this road trip, and I was in the South and on the, Eastern Seaboard, and it's so humid and hot that my body got used to that now. And now I'm such a wuss.
Yeah.
The last few days, my body's been hurting. I've been like, oh, the cold hurts so much. Oh. I know. And last year, I was in negative 50 temperatures.
And it didn't bother you as much.
Well, it did bother me,
Yeah.
but I was fine. But now I'm like,
Negative 50 should bother you.
yeah,
right.
yeah. It's
that's what I mean. Like,
negative 50 is when you get like, your lungs start freezing, your eyes start
Ooh.
sticking because they're freezing. Any exposed skin, you're gonna get frostbite
yeah.
after a few minutes. I mean, you can feel it start happening on your fingertips.
nah, that's awful.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. People turn their cars on and they don't shut them off on days like that. Yeah,
Understandable.
yeah, they just burn through the gas. Anyway, but now it's in the 30s or whatever and 20s, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm in pain. It's so weird. Yeah. Anyway, so do you guys get a lot of snow up here? Do you ever feel kind of snowed in the winter, or
We get ice. Ice is our big thing.
ice? Okay, ice storms.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get hit with ice storms and get trapped at home because we can't go
Right,
anywhere.
right. Because when that gets on wires and trees, you hear that crack, and then all of a sudden it's right on top of you.
Our landlord also doesn't take care of this road, so it's complete. It's just a sheet of solid ice.
Oh, okay.
So we can't leave.
Right.
Like
Right.
they may plow the road, the highway,
Sure.
Yeah.
right here, but no.
Okay.
We can look at people drive by.
That's
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
We might if we have to get out, we'll just have to go 1 mile an hour and try not to slide into anybody else's cars.
So this is like a small community. It's prefab houses,
Yeah.
that sort of thing, and it's set off from the road. So do you and your neighbors work together to clear it or something?
No.
Or? No.
I don't even know my neighbors.
Really?
We don't know
in
each other
such a
at
small
all.
space.
No.
Oh my goodness.
All we know is they get the cops called on them every once in a while.
Sorry, Katie. Okay, so there's maybe some domestic violence issues or drugs or something.
They have a lot of yelling contests.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it sounds like my neighbors in Alaska. Unfortunately, my landlords who I liked, they were kind of hippies and stuff. They were too permissive.
Yeah.
And they allowed they allowed a lady who they thought they were helping move in, and her boyfriend was a meth addict. And all the problems came in.
Yeah.
And I was like, I had my perfect little spot, and then it
Yeah.
was all ruined. So,
Oh man.
yeah. So it sounds like this is very similar, actually.
A little bit. If you got the money, he'll let you have it.
Yeah.
He don't care who you are.
Oh my goodness.
Pretty much.